With Jessica Jones' triumphant return to the MCU, now more than ever feels like the perfect time to crack open some of her iconic stories. If you've never read the original run of Jessica Jones, so-called Alias, you're doing yourself a disservice. It is one of Brian Michael Bendis' best work. This cool and intriguing neo-noir about how an ex-superhero navigates the complex and often dangerous world of Marvel, shining light on stories seldom told in 616. A true street-level grounded tale that isn't afraid of both fun and depth. But we're not here to talk about the one that started it all. What about Alias' underrated sequel, The Pulse? Let's investigate. Jessica Jones' The Pulse, released all the way back from 2004 up to 2006 and was written by Brian Michael Bendis as a follow-up to the original Max series. One of the cool things about this particular entry of Jess's story is that each arc has a different artist, starting with Mark Bagley of Ultimate Spider-Man fame, then moving on to Brent Anderson and Michael Lark for the second arc, and then bringing it on home back with Jessica's very first artist, Michael Gaydos. Now, we'll get into this later, but each artist really brings something special and fits well with their individual arcs. Where does the story start, you may be wondering? Spoilers for the first run, Alias, but in the end of it, Jessica Jones realizes that she's pregnant and Luke Cage is the father. That definitely complicates her life. Back in Alias, she has a tumultuous relationship with J. Jonah Jameson, at first tricking him into paying her to figure out who Spider-Man is and completely wasting his time and money. But then she saves his sort of adopted father, Maddie Franklin, one of the Spider-Women. Wild, right? This lifts Jess up in Jameson's eyes, leading to the first arc of The Pulse, Jessica Jones working with the Daily Bugle and, more specifically, Ben Urich to write a slice-of-life superhero life column called, get this, The Pulse. Now, remember when I said that Mark Bagley did the art for this particular arc? Well, there's a good reason, Spidey fans. You're gonna love this. The first arc is actually basically an Amazing Spider-Man mystery featuring Jessica Jones. After the mysterious death of a woman with ties to Oscorp, Jessica Jones and Ben Urich work together to figure out what happened exactly. Ben Urich's desperately trying to uncover the identity of the Green Goblin, and this might be his smoking gun. This is one of the cool things about The Pulse, and Jessica Jones in general. The character adds a personal connection to a larger universe. It spends a lot of time detailing who this victim of the Green Goblin was, and their own personal stakes of Jess and Ben. Jess especially dangerously in the line of fire from Gabi, now putting two people at risk with her unborn child along for the ride. This is an exciting and fun start to The Pulse's story, well worth the price of admission, and, to be honest, one of my favorite Jessica Jones stories. Now, if you're familiar with Bendis' work, you pretty much know he was Marvel in the early thousands, heading up a lot of different larger events like House of M, Secret Invasion, Dark Avengers, and Siege. One that doesn't get mentioned nearly as often is Secret War. No, not Secret Wars. One single war. The idea is that Nick Fury basically kidnaps a group of heroes, Spider-Man, Daredevil, Black Widow, Luke Cage, Wolverine, Captain America, and new arrival Quake, on a top-secret mission, even wiping their memories after the fact, but then this so-called Secret War becomes, a little more unsecret when the members of Fury's super friends start being attacked. It's a cool story, only 5 issues long and pretty short. I recommend giving it a read. But where does this leave Jessica Jones? Well, who's got that deeper connection with Luke Cage? Exactly. It sends her down this bizarre and confusing mystery to uncover the truth, once again hitting at one of the strengths of Jessica Jones' stories, adding personal connections to an otherwise larger and personal story. This arc really shows the love and devotion both Luke and Jess have for each other and expands upon Secret War in an interesting way, from a completely different perspective. In all, it shows how larger events in Marvel can affect individuals in their lives. The art here is less superhero like Bagley's and more dark and mysterious, somewhat reflective of Gaydos' original art, covered in those harder lines and those deeper noir shadows. The last arc is perhaps my favorite arc of all of Jessica Jones' stories, and it's one that's way more personal and intimate. It's not about stopping the Green Goblin, fighting the Purple Man, but her giving birth to her daughter. All the heroes come together in such a meaningful moment to help out one of their own. This moment means so much because if you're familiar with Jessica Jones' backstory, her big heavy trauma that she carries around her, it's not only the loss of her personhood by Purple Man, but also the fact that in months that she was gone, being hostage by him, no one ever looked for her. The community she devoted herself to turned her back on her. But now, they're finally making up for it. I've never read a story quite like this in Marvel's spanning run of comics. It's truly beautiful. It makes The Pulse special. In my eyes, The Pulse is one of Brian Michael Bendis' finest work, deserving a spot right next to Ultimate Spider-Man and Alias. If you want to see Marvel from a new perspective, check this one out. Jessica's stories are magical, dark, sometimes heavy reflections of reality. It's still full of hope and beauty. Thank you for watching.